Hello, I'm Jeff Cobb, and I'm the host of Cooking with Cobb. Tonight, we're going to make baked cod and shrimp in a creamy cheese sauce. This is something that my grandmother used to make often. She was from County Cork, Ireland, and her family were fishermen, and they had lots of fish and had to think of different ways of using it. And this one is a real beauty. Wait till you see what happens here. In a saucepan, I've put a cup and a half of whole milk, 6 peppercorns, no more. 6 is the optimal number. And then I've taken a quarter of a Vidalia onion and I've chopped it into large pieces. They're in the milk right now. So I'm going to transfer this over to the stove and we're going to bring this to a boil. While we're waiting for that to boil, I'm going to cut my fish. We're using a little bit more than a pound of nice, fresh Atlantic codfish. This is nice, fresh fish. You don't want to buy the frozen stuff. This is fresh fish. It doesn't smell bad. It's right off the boat. And this is good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces. I'm going to cut it right in the center to begin with. And then I'm going to cut each half right in the center. I have a casserole dish here that's already buttered. I'm going to put the 4 pieces of fish right in the casserole dish. Okay. Now I'm going to put 5 peeled and deveined shrimp right in the dish here. And I have 6 ounces of button mushrooms, white button mushrooms. I've washed them and I've trimmed the ends of the stems, and they're going to go right in here as well. I'm just going to move them around so that there'll be equal portions for everyone when we dig into this. So there we go with that. Now, I'm going to melt some butter. I have half a stick of regular butter. And I'm going to melt that right down. Boil. And I took it off the heat and let it steep for a while. In the meantime, we melted the butter. And at this point, I'm going to add some flour to the butter and make basically a simple roux. I used a little bit more than a quarter cup of flour. So here we go. Let's see how this works out for us. I'm stirring it. I'm stirring the flour into the warm butter over medium heat. And this is going to be what thickens the sauce. You have to make sure you keep scraping the sides of the pan so you don't wind up with lumps of flour in your roux. Nobody wants lumps. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, now it's time to add the milk, onion, and peppercorn mixture to the butter and flour mixture. I stir it in gradually. try to dissolve as much of the butter and flour as I can into the milk ahead of time. And this should thicken up nicely. I think it's time to add some more. There we go. And I've got this on a little bit better than medium heat because we don't want to burn it. And now it's time to give it a little bit of seasoning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper, a little bit of sea salt, and my lemon juice. There's 4 tablespoons of lemon juice that I added. And it's starting to thicken up nicely. At this point, I'm going to add my cheese. I'm going to put 2/3 of this cheese. I have 4 ounces of sharp cheddar, grated sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to add about 2/3 of it to the sauce, and I'm going to reserve the remaining third to put on the very top of the casserole. But this should melt in quite nicely. I like to keep it moving so it doesn't stick or burn. I think this is getting pretty close to being ready to put over the fish and shrimp and mushrooms. And that's just what we're going to do right now. I want to get all that goodness out of the pan and into the casserole dish. I'm going to sort of move this around a little bit so that we have a pretty even coating. And now I'm going to sprinkle the remaining cheese on the very top of it. I know when my Mamie used to make this, it was wonderful, and I hope I'm able to do her justice. And there we go. It's about time to put it in the oven. So I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. I probably should have done that earlier, but that's the way things go sometimes. Right now, preheat to 350 degrees. Oh yeah, I think this is done. It looks like Mamie's. You can see the shrimp and the mushrooms. The fish, of course, is down at the bottom. The cheese sauce. Now I'm going to put the heat on under my peas. And we're almost ready to have a really nice supper here. Okay, the fish is done. We had it in the oven for 25 minutes and then finished it for about a minute and a half under the broiler, just to give it a little bit of color. And now we're gonna plate a portion of this. It looks like Mamie's. And I said earlier that it's good with peas. So we're going to have a nice helping of peas here right along with it. And we're going to put a dollop of butter on top of the peas. And we're ready to have supper. I hope it tastes as good as Mamie's did. It sure looks like hers. Well, I guess that's it. From my kitchen to yours, I'm Jeff Cobb. Enjoy.